Welcome back to the Meeple Marathon. Today we're going to be taking a look at how to get everything back in the box for Nemesis. Now, I have everything except for the Carnomorphs expansion, but I would assume that, as you'll see here very quickly, similar to the Void Seeders expansion, I don't think there's much else you could get into that box. I could be wrong. If there is some extra space hidden away in that box, please let me know in the comment section below. I may obtain that expansion at some point. I know it's available at retail, but we'll see. But this is going to include everything for Nemesis Lockdown, including the stretch goals, and most everything for Nemesis, the base game. If you're only interested in seeing how to fit the newest content in, that's going to be all at the beginning. So we're going to cover the Lockdown box here and then the stretch goal box. There will be timestamps below, so you can jump around if you so choose. If you just have the Nemesis core box, I have already posted a video. It's going to be popping up right now on how to get that back in the box. It's quite straightforward, but just kind of where everything fits nicely. But I'm going to show that off again, and just where I have kind of moved a few things around into the Aftermath expansion, mostly. Like I said, Void Seeders is pretty much just Void Seeders. But anyways, without further ado, let's get started. So, alright, here is Nemesis Lockdown. Even though I have the playmat, I'm still going to keep the board most likely in the box, just to help keep everything down and flat. So, as you'll see, have decided to store the medic in the Lockdown box. I know the medic came out with the original Nemesis, but she's like this standalone expansion character, and there is, as you'll see, a perfect little spot for her in this box. So, and there's a lot of extra room in the Lockdown box. So, she, along with all the other player boards for Lockdown and the one lab board and everything, is here in this one. You'll note that this little space right here, I haven't even found anything to put in here. So, like I said, there's a lot more room in this box than there is in the main one. Right here, I just have my token bag, and I have my tokens in coin capsules. And so you just you gotta move them around a little bit so that they take up the whole bag room. But there's no way I'm able to tip this box over. It's never going to go on the shelf facing outward. It's just not going to happen. Too much stuff would fall out. So as long as you keep it like this, everything's going to stay in the bag. And worst, it just they fall into that hole there. So that's where I've got my intruder bag tokens and player boards for the most part. All right, so here is the included tray, then component tray, that they really just kind of gave you a big wide open tray to do whatever with it you wish. And what I'm trying to do here is, as much as possible, not have to reach into the stretch goal box. Now, a little caveat before we get to that is, one, I generally play Nemesis solo, whether it's single player, two-handed, or whatnot. So I don't really have a need for that first player token. It's a very nice raccoon, but he's staying in the stretch goal box. I probably could have fit him like right here or something like that. And since I had the room here, I've gone ahead and pulled out some of the stuff from the Nemesis terrain expansion and added it here. Now you'll see that I only have two body tokens or whatever, and that's fine. I don't generally come across a lot of them. I don't need the 6 or so that come in, that you have cardboard tokens. I have all the eggs in here. I may pull some out and put them where you can see I have some of that stuff in the base box, but for right now, I have pulled out all the egg tokens out here because I've got eggs right here. I've also pulled out these spore tokens out of the stretch goal box for the specific reason of the fact that when I'm playing, I only want to have this out, sitting somewhere on the table, taking up space. I don't want to have, even if I'm playing with the Kythrid expansion, the way their board is set up is that you're placing all of their little miniatures on that circular board anyways. So you're going to be pulling them all out. Then you put that box to the side, pull out a little stack of those green slime markers, and you're good to go. So I tried to pull as much of that stuff out. Plus, these didn't really have a spot in that stretch goal box, which we'll see here in a second. So I felt like they fit better here. And look, I mean, I've even got some space here. These are the health tokens that they included in the core box of Lockdown, but were a part of a stretch goal. These are for, you know, intruders and everything, and I didn't even need to fill this up. I could even stick some stuff in there. But I've got some of my stretch goal door tokens. This is the most I'm ever going to need. I have never needed more doors than this. I don't even know if there's that many exploration tokens with doors on them. But, you know, there's still a few left in the stretch goal box if I needed to pull them out. And then with the spore tokens here, I've got the clear tokens. I honestly may use these as slime tokens too on my player sheet, just because they're more thematic. But these are easily distinguishable. I can easily, even just touching them blindly, I can pull one out over the other. Same with the flame and malfunction tokens. It didn't make sense that just these flame tokens got a whole well all to themselves. So I combine them. They're easily distinguishable. These are kind of stuck together. There you go. I gave the noise tokens their own, but again, you could probably easily combine these with something. Like I said, there's no different from the Nemesis original game. There's no real set spot that they have said, oh, you should put this here, and this here. I have put my, kind of ammo tokens and player markers and things like that in here, along with my rover miniature. I do plan to use this a lot because I really like that, especially over the cardboard token. And so I'll probably just pull this out and set it on the board every time I set up. Now, it is specifically in this corner because of the way this needs to fit back on. You can see this is raised up right here. Which is good. That means you can put some taller stuff in that one corner, and maybe even like half of this one. So that's where the rover needs to be, because it sits higher than this edge. Everything else sits below. Then I have all my exploration tokens in here. So I've got ones for like the outside and the Mars. I'll have to go through here and pull out the ones that I want, but you're having to do that anyways. Pull them out, mix them up, put certain ones on the board. Basically all my like setup tokens are here, other setup tokens are here, so all of these events and CSS tokens and other random markers or the lab tokens for your characters, things like that, those are all in this tray. And then over here underneath the dice, which are just going to be pulled out no matter what, are the intruder carcass tokens, and the just in case, since I only have 2 dead people tokens, if I needed some of those are sitting right there. All right, so that's basically what I have here. Again, it's a little bit of a mixture of stuff from Nemesis that I wanted to have. I plan to probably primarily play a lot of Lockdown for a while. Maybe at some point I'll move more of the eggs over, things like that. All right. On this board here, pretty much everything's the same, but as you'll notice, here is the medic. One thing that I'm curious to know, so please let me know in the comment section below, am I the only one who's not able to get these guys back into their spots without putting, with their rubber rings on? I was able to get the base characters into their slots with their rubber rings on, but not these guys. So again, it's not the end of the world, but it just means that I had to find a spot for these. And this was like this perfect little spot that I had found for the medic, but the rubber rings are not going to mess up the medic. They're rubber, so they're nice and soft. So the medic is in there with the rubber rings. I know that some people have placed her in the Aftermath expansion box, but those are pretty large spaces to put her in, and she could easily get bumped around and broken. So I have decided my medic is going to live here. Here I have my contamination card, the elevator token, the power tokens. These 2 tokens I don't need, and that's pretty much it right here. And then this stuff is all kind of just where it was. And then at the bottom really is nothing out of the ordinary here. This is where you're going to want to put your room tiles, tipped up this way, not stacked on their sides. And then basically all your cards are going to fit down here. So yeah, that should be pretty straightforward. So here we go, watching it all go back in. This hopefully means that I should be able to play a game of Nemesis Lockdown while enjoying many of the stretch goal content that's just like fun to have, and not having to get another box out. So there we go. Here's everything back on top, and that's going to do it for the Lockdown box. So now let's move on. Again, I'm going to timestamp all of this stuff, so if you guys are only interested in certain boxes, I know this is going to be kind of a long reboxing video, but we got a lot to cover here. All right, now let's talk about the stretch goal box here. Like I said, I mostly just kind of pulled some stuff out of here. But here is the Untold Stories, still fits on top, and the stretch goal instruction manual. Your two laboratory boards that came with this fit right in here, and then this is the circular board for the kite thread miniatures that I was talking about. Fits right there. Then there was this big well, and this is really where those green spore tokens were meant to be. And by pulling those out of here, I was able to fit these spore tokens in, these intruder bag development tokens in capsules. So they sit in here, and then all of these tokens here, I may baggy them up. I don't know. They're just loose right now, and it's not bothering me at the moment. But these are for the Untold Stories, or Untold Stories 3. This one. One thing I will note, pay attention to, luckily I just had them. These tokens here, the green ones for the kite threads, are smaller than the other ones. So the original game intruder ones and the ones I'm pretty sure that came with Nemesis, or maybe the Void Seeders were smaller too, and that's why I had extra. I coin capsule a lot of stuff, but this is the same size coin capsule that I have used for things like Arkham Horror, the living card game, those Mythos tokens. So if you're familiar with that, a lot of like the Fantasy Flight size tokens. So here we can just show you an example of the two sizes side by side, and I'll try and put a link in the description below to the two that I have gotten. But you can see that one is obviously bigger than the other. So this is going to be your core box intruder bag and your lockdown intruder bag, and then at least these are smaller, and I'm thinking Void Seeders may be smaller too. We can look at that here in a second, but just keep that in mind. I don't know why they didn't make them all the same size. Honestly, I would have preferred the slightly smaller token, but that's fine. All right, so let's then just really take a look in here. Shouldn't be too many surprises. I did leave the big gate in here. This may be one thing that I'm just like okay with the cardboard token, or if I really want it, I'll pull it out. But all the rest of this stuff is only going to be needed if I'm playing with the kite threads and then my first player token. Again, these are all the cards. I'll probably pull these expansion specific cards out for the players, and just leave the kite thread cards in here. Oh, I lost. What's happening here? But I haven't dug into all of these yet. Haven't sleeved them all. And then here I have just 3 doors. Like I said, I've never gotten to the point where I needed all of the doors. And then these are just the tokens that I don't need. So the door standees in the bottom, the door tokens, the egg tokens, a few of the corpse tokens, just stuff like that, that since I have the kind of upgraded components, I'm never going to need these other ones. So they are just hidden away there underneath the doors. And that's it for the stretch goal box. Like I said, pretty simple. Just pulled some stuff out of here because there was room for it in the lockdown box. All right, so that does it for all of the new content. So if all you got was the new content, you can feel free to stop watching now. The rest of the video isn't going to do you much good. But at this point, we're just going to take, oh my goodness, get it up off the floor. We're going to take a brief look at the original box. I feel like their storage solution or whatever, their included tray in here was fine, and everything that came with this game fits in this game, but it's not nearly as expansive as the lockdown box. Anyways, so there's room for one of the Untold Stories books to sit in here, but not both. So I have one in here on top of the instruction manual, the board, everything else. And then here, if all you have is the player boards and whatnot, and the intruder board, if you don't have the medic in here, things like that, then you can place the red light board or whatever right there. And then this is where you can see my hero miniatures here all have their bases on them, and they fit in their slots just fine. This one I had to pull out the the tokens don't fit in the bag, and they don't all fit right here, which is unfortunate because this slot was designed for them but not for them in coin capsules. But here I have some, this is for the engines and the escape pods. This is for dice with the action tokens underneath. Here's all my doors, exploration tokens, white markers, and everything had a spot. Like if you look down here, I think the fire one might stand out the best. If you look down there, there's a little indentation of a flame. So you're like, oh, this is where the fire tokens go. And these slots are much smaller than the ones in Lockdown. So you're basically throwing everything in there. So yeah, but pretty much everything has a place designated for it, and you put those things in that place. There are the egg tokens, and so yeah, let's just move on here. And then here is where, not too much surprising here, but since I don't sleeve my smaller cards, I really only sleeve the player cards, the ones that get shuffled constantly. I don't sleeve the smaller cards, so I had this extra well that I could put the tokens in, the remainder of my intruder bag tokens in right here. And then the bag is just rolled up and tucked in between these cards. Again, if you sleeved all your cards, you wouldn't be able to do this. I honestly don't know where you would put everything. So, but yeah, and then here you can see in the core box, the room tiles went stacked up and down like that instead of on their side. But that is it for the core box, the original core box. Let's get everything back in here. See, it all goes back in nicely. For some reason, it doesn't sit level. I don't know why. I think it's just how the plastic, but as long as I put Untold Stories on this side, there's no lid lift. You can see there's like extra room over here. It's like lower on this side. I just don't think the wells line up nicely. The plastic inside. All right, so that's the core box. Done. Let's push this out of the way. And then, really, the only other box that I've done a whole lot to, I'll show you Void Seeders here in a second, but here is the Aftermath box. So this one, again, has some additional room to add some stuff to. So Untold Stories 1 and 2, each one came with a board of tokens, but I'm pretty sure they're exactly the same. I don't know why I'm still keeping this in the box. I may just have to set that off to the side. But anyways, here is the other Untold Stories. It creates like the smallest amount of lid lift on this box, but I felt like this is a good place for it, along with the instruction manual and the little expansion board. All right, and then again, this is just the lid. So here you can see there is, again, room for the medic card. So if you wanted to choose to put the medic in this expansion, you could. And her miniature, probably you'd want to stick it over here somewhere. Unfortunately, I think they really could have like gave her a little cutout right here, which would have been amazing. Just dig into this and let these sit on top and protect her a little bit. But then she could have lived with the rest of the core people. But they missed on that because there's nothing underneath this. It's just empty space. But here you can see, cards. Here are the rest of my corpse tokens. And this is then just all the, normal stuff. But then underneath here is where I have then come back and added some stuff in. So these are the escape pods that come in the train expansion. And these are in here because you're never going to use these on Lockdown. There's no escape pods. They're only ever used on the Nemesis board. And then in this small container, I have all of the tokens for the Aftermath expansion. So if you're playing with like the turrets or the expanded room tiles, things like that, or these extra eggs, all that stuff, all those modules, if you want to add them in, you would get those tokens from here. And then this is one set. This is essentially everything you see here is in this box here. So when I go to play Untold Stories, I will pull that out. And yeah, then these just lay here on top. What you don't see is the door tokens from the terrain expansion. For one, those are ginormous. The escape pods are ginormous. I really like that they scaled down the size of the doors for Lockdown. I like that you can make them broken, open, whatever you want to call them. They're much more modular. So if I feel like I really want to play with doors in the core box, I'll probably pull out the Lockdown box and use those versus pulling out my terrain expansion. That box is probably going to be tucked away somewhere and collect dust till the point where if I ever sell this, I'll hopefully know where to find it. But so that is Untold Stories. That's what I've got in there. So what this means is that for the most part, I can get a lot of fun experience out of the original game if I just pull out the core box and Aftermath expansion. So there's that. And then last but not least, like I said, there's really no surprises in this one, but in case you wanted to see what it looks like, here is the Void Seeders expansion. Nothing else on top. Maybe I'll throw this in here. Just keep that stored away in there as I'm punching out the tokens accidentally. But yeah, this is mostly the just Void Seeder miniatures, the Void Seeder board, Void Seeder specific cards, and their tokens. So let's take a look here at which size is, yeah, see the Void Seeder ones are the smaller size too. So keep that in mind. Void Seeder tokens and Kythrid bag tokens are smaller size, and base game tokens, basically for both base game Lockdown and Lockdown, are the larger size. Most of them fit into here. I just had to scatter a few over there. I always like to keep these silica gel things around, keep everything dry. And yeah, this one, like, yeah, there's like 2 of these extra exploration tokens that you're supposed to use. But other than that, this is all content that came in this box. It stays in this box. It lives in there. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm actually just going to stick this right there so I don't have to think too hard about where I'm going to put that. There you go. That is everything. Again, I apologize. I don't own the Carnomorphs expansion, but I would assume it's similar to the Void Seeders, that it's pretty much a box full of miniatures and some Carnomorph specific tokens, and there's room for them in their expansion box, but not much else. So if I'm wrong, please let me know in the comment section below. But that's going to do it for our reboxing video of Nemesis, covering everything from Nemesis Lockdown back through the original core game and most of its expansions. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more content like this in the future, please consider subscribing to the channel. Once again, thanks for watching. Have a great day.